Hey there, it's Olivia Savannah here from Olivia's Catastrophe, and today I'm here to give you my January book haul. It is quite a big book. I've got 28 books here to show you, which makes me very nervous for my first half a haul challenge. But as I won't be going into the books in particular in those videos, I'm going to run you through the 28 books that have joined my shelf within the past month. Let's get right down to the books. We are going to start with special editions, and this first one are some very heavy trilogies I have to show you. It is the Poppy War trilogy by R.F. Kuang in the beautiful Illumicrate dust jackets for these editions. Like, I'm sorry, gorgeous. And I'm not going to take out every single book because then we'd be here forever, but I will take out the Poppy War so you can see what it looks like. It looks like this on the cover, so beautiful illustration, and then you've got some sprayed edges, and yeah, there's two more just like this. So I read the Poppy War quite a while ago now, back when I was in uni in my third year while I was abroad. I read it from the library, so I actually didn't own a copy back then, and I really enjoyed the Poppy War. I especially loved the second half of the book, even more than the first half, where it delves into the nitty-gritty and becomes more of a grimdark fantasy. But I never continued the series, I never had the sequels, and now I have books 2 and 3 in these gorgeous editions, so we'll continue on with reading this trilogy, and I'm very excited to do that because I enjoyed the first one so much. So after that, the books become lighter. So here I've got the TikTok edition of Good Spirits by B.K. Borison. I read this back in December and I absolutely loved it. You'll actually know by now that this is one of the best books that I read in 2025, and so after I finished it with the paperback sprayed edge edition that I had that I really loved, I just decided to treat myself to the TikTok edition because hardcover is my preferred format. This one is about Nolan. He is the ghost of Christmas past and he is sent to haunt Harriet, but there is something mysteriously going wrong with his magic, and also maybe Harriet is a very nice person who doesn't need haunting. So that's what this book is about. It's great fun. I love it. 5 stars, and now I have a beautiful edition for my shelves. Then we have my Starbrite box that arrived, and that is Slow Gods by Claire North. I was so excited to get this edition in my Starbrite. It was actually on my wish list, having loved the first 15 Lives of Harry August by Claire North, and as soon as I saw the synopsis I knew this was the next book of hers that I wanted to read, and now I have it, and it is such a beautiful edition. So, you know, we've got a sprayed edge, and on the sprayed edge it says "We are the unforgivable," which is really nice. It's a gradient red, and then on the inside you've got some beautiful artwork on both end papers, and underneath the dust jacket is some galaxy work which looks beautiful. So yeah, I am very excited to read this. An intergalactic tale of conspiracy, war, and the fall of empires is what it says. There was also, so my Black Friday deal arrived in December, and Black Friday shopping, I didn't buy anything that was on the Black Friday sales except for one book, and it was a book I already had my eye on and I wanted to get, but I was so happy when I saw it in the sale, and that is the Broken Binding edition of Mickey 7 by Edward Ashton. This is the book that inspired the film Mickey 17 that has Robert Pattinson in it, and I watched that and I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it. It's a very like light-hearted book. Well, it's not a light-hearted film, but it's a film that's sci-fi but it has some light-hearted elements into it, even though what's happening to the character is very grim, because he is a dispensable, which means that he can copy-paste himself and upload his consciousness to new versions of himself, but it does mean that the past self of him has to die for that to happen. So he gets sent into very dangerous situations like fixing things on the outside of the spaceship, because if he dies they can just make him again, and he remembers all of his past lives. And this beautiful edition of this book, you know, look at that cover. I think it's a fantastic cover. I love that you've got one of him on the sprayed edge, and then I think underneath, like, look at these end papers, you know, beautiful. I do love reading science fiction, and I have heard that this book is a lot more sci-fi than the actual film was, and that's actually something that I'm very much looking forward to. Like, I'm looking forward to it being more sci-fi heavy, so I'm curious to see what the book is like. I know it's a series. gonna give it a go. So this is not necessarily a special edition, but it is a hardcover special proof with a sprayed edge, and that's of Coffin Moon by Keith Rosson. So by the time that Black Crow sent this to me, this was already published, but it's a vampire novel and it's a horror novel, and I'm looking forward to trying it because I like books with vampires in them. I actually went to an event on Comic-Con with Eric LaRocca, and Keith Rosson was on the same panel, so I have heard him talk about this book and it sounds like a lot of fun from what he was saying, so I'm curious to give it a go and see what it's like. I had a lot of treat myself situations in December because I love Christmas and I love giving myself book gifts, and I read Make You Mine this Christmas by Lizzie Huxley-Jones. It was one of the best books I read in 2025 as well. It's a very cute Christmas book, and I had a paperback edition which was kindly gifted to me by Daniela from Only a 4 page, but I finished it and loved it so much that I went on to Vinted and found an Afterlight edition of the book in hardcover again because this is my preferred format, so I'm very happy to have it. This one follows our main character who has a friend, and she ends up fake dating her friend for his Christmas, and when she goes home with him, she discovers and starts falling for his sister in reality, and so you've got a very messy situation there. I loved it, I give it 5 stars, I adored it, and I'm so happy to have a beautiful hardcover of it for my shelves. It's like a collector's trophy. I love to upgrade a version of something I already have if I know it's one of my forever keeps and possible rereads in the future. And then for Christmas, the lovely Dawn from Dawn P is here, who is fabulous and talks about books and films and TV on her channel, sent me 2 books, and one of the books that she sent me is a Puffin's classic edition of Black Beauty by Anna Sewell. This is a children's classic that has to do with a girl and a horse. That's all I really know. I know that Dawn loved this when they were a child, and it is actually a story I have a connection with because there used to be horses in a farm nearby our house, and there was a black horse, and we used to call that horse Black Beauty. We named it, we gave it apples, it was the whole thing. Never knew who owned the horse, never actually saw the farmer, but we had an affinity to this horse. I did not like horse riding, I loved my horses behind a fence, and so I'm curious to see what I'll think of this. Also, when I was younger I used to read a lot of horse books. They were just really popular and I read them as a child even though I was not a horse girl. I feel qualified to read this book. Moving on to a review copy, I was sent a copy of Half His Age by Jennette McCurdy. This is her fiction, her first fiction debut. It is coming out on the 20th of January, which might be close to when this haul is posted, and it's about a young student who falls for a professor who is older than her. She is half his age, and it's about that. Having read I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jennette McCurdy and really, enjoying that memoir, we do know that Jennette McCurdy has had relationships where she's been very young and that person has been very old, so it's definitely coming from a place where she's got some experience and understanding of this kind of situation and how awful it is. So I'm curious to see what I'm going to think of this one. A friend got me a whole trilogy box set, which I really didn't expect because it's not a friend that we usually exchange gifts or anything, but they gave me the whole trilogy by Stephanie Garber that starts with Once Upon a Broken Heart, then goes The Ballad of the Never After, and lastly A Curse for True Love. Do I know anything about this series? Absolutely not, because I never intended to read it. Stephanie Garber, there was just something about her books that didn't seem very me. They seem very whimsical, magical realism and lovely and magical and luscious writing, which in some ways could sound like a bit of me, but it doesn't actually fit into what I think I'm gonna like in a book. So I've always stayed clear of Stephanie Garber. There's no hatred or dislike there, it's just something that I don't think is gonna work for me. And now I've got 3 books and this person is very keen for me to try them because they like them as well. So I am going to give the first one a go, give it the benefit of doubt, and hopefully I will like it because that would be nice. There is an Icelandic tradition to exchange a book on Christmas Eve, and me and my sister have done this in the past, and we do it in a way where there are rules applied. She can give me a book that she has read that she knows I haven't, that she really wants me to read, vice versa for me to her, but the rule is it has to be read by the end of next year. So this was given to me in 2025 and I have to read it by the end of 2026, and that is The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. This is a sci-fi book where cities are sentient, I believe, and that's all I really know about it. But me and April, my sister, have both read the 5th season series, the Broken Earth trilogy, and we absolutely loved it. We both consider it one of our all-time favourites. And then April did the thing where she went on and read all of N.K. Jemisin's books, and I did the thing where I didn't read any more. So that has to be corrected now because she has made it that I need to read this book. I am excited to read more NK Jemisin. I am just scared that nothing will uphold to the quality of the 5th season, but that is silly because April has told me that this is great and therefore it must be. I think I got this book for myself. That's Miss Dalloway by Virginia Woolf. You can't really see it on the camera because of the lighting. This is a classic. It's in the Penguin Library Classics editions. I collect these. I'm curious. I've heard a lot about Virginia Woolf's fiction. I've only read A Room of One's Own, so this could be my first venture into her fiction. I've got another one of her novels on the shelf behind me. I also got myself this. This is The Courage to be Disliked by Ichiro Kishima and Fumitake Koga, and this is apparently a really insightful non-fiction book about having the courage to be disliked by others and what that can give you and grant you in life. It's self-help. I sometimes read non-fiction self-help, but not that frequently. I do think there is some wisdom to be gathered there, but sometimes I feel skeptical of this. I don't actually think I need the courage to be disliked. One of my favorite quotes in life is "sounds like a you problem." And I just use that as my mantra. If I'm doing something that somebody doesn't like but it makes me happy, that sounds like a you problem because you are upset by it when you shouldn't be if it's not affecting you. And that's not a moral for absolutely everything because we do have to be considerate of other people, but I don't care if people dislike me if I'm being me and happy being me. And I already have that mindset, so I don't know if I need this, but I'm still going to read it anyway. I've got a lot of people in my life who said this was really helpful, so I just kind of want to connect with them over this, and maybe I will learn more about The Courage to be Disliked. Thank you so much to the publisher for sending me a copy of Kin by Tayari Jones. I did not read the synopsis of this one purposefully because I just want to dive in. I've read An American Marriage by Tayari Jones. I've read Silver Sparrow by Tayari Jones, and it's been so many years since she has released another novel. This is out in March and I am so excited about it. If you're gonna give me literary fiction, give it to me by Tayari Jones because she knows how to write people and relationships, complex relationships, very well. Also, thank you to the publisher for sending me a copy of The Scammer by Tiffany D. Jackson. This is Tiffany D. Jackson taking on horror. We've got somebody who's at university and their roommate, who they're sharing their room with, has their brother come in and live on the sofa. The brother is an ex-convict, he's got nowhere else to stay, but then some strange things start happening. Now, by the time the publisher sent this to me, this was already out for a couple of months, but I'm excited to read it. I've read 2 Tiffany D. Jackson books before, really enjoyed both of them, and I'm looking forward to reading more of her sinister works. This was another book that I just bought for myself, and that is Two Wrongs Make a Right by Chloe Lisse. I believe I bought this because it was on sale, and I blame Carol Ann from Books with CA on Instagram for this purchase because she really loves this series and has told me how good it is and what great representation is in it. I do believe Emily from Novel Novels enjoys this as well, and they are loosely retellings of Shakespeare. I can't remember what this one is a retelling of. Oh, Jamie and Bea. Yes, here we go. Opposites become allies to fool their matchmaking friends. So opposites become allies to fool their matchmaking friends in this swoony reimagining of Shakespeare's beloved comedy, Much Ado About Nothing. So yeah, there we go. I think it's Benedict and Beatrice retelling. That's fantastic. Can you see how much that's lit me up? Just knowing that this is a Shakespeare retelling brings me so much joy, and therefore I'm looking forward to reading it because it's a Shakespeare romance retelling. Of course, as soon as I knew that Wretch by Eric LaRocca was coming out this year, I wanted to get my hands on it, so thank you to Titan Books for sending me a copy. Wretch is a new novel by Eric LaRocca. Eric LaRocca writes it, I will read it. They write horror, very extremist horror, splatterpunk, that's what it's called. They write splatterpunk horror. Don't need to know what this one is about. I will dive in. This one is out in March. Thank you to Bekka from Seabook Santum for sending me a copy of The Whisperwicks by Jordan Lace. It is a middle grade fantasy novel. That's what I can tell you. This has been praised by a lot of my friends, including Charlie from Charlie Book Reads, but also from It's a Charlie Thing now, and then Emily from Novel Novels, and just many of my friends who like to read middle grade, Chattie from Mad Chatterer. They all seem to love this series, and so I want to read this series because those are the people I get my middle grade recommendations from, and middle grade fantasy is my favourite genre within the middle grade age audience, so I think I'm gonna have a good time. The second book that Dom got me for Christmas is Blood on Her Tongue by Joanna van Veen. This is a Dutch author, which makes me very excited, and I've also seen Jashana from Jashana C really enjoy this horror book. It's set in the Netherlands in 1887, where our main character refuses to eat, refuses to move, and is mumbling very strange things. It sounds very creepy and spooky, historical horror. Get me in there. I am very much excited about this. I hope it's as good as I want it to be. So at work, they do like a Christmas gifting situation where you can get books for Christmas, and one of the books that I chose from work for Christmas was Stories of Your Life and Others by Ted Chiang. This is another sci-fi short story collection by this author, and if you've watched my best books of 2025 video, you'll know that Exhalation by the same author was in my top 3 books of 2025. What I immediately did after finished Exhalation was do some research and see what other books he has out there, and I saw another sci-fi short story collection and I was like, that is what I want to read. And now it's in my hands. Then we have Dominion by Addie E. Kitchens. This is a literary fiction book that I've just seen so much love for on literary fiction reading Instagram. So shout out to Fid at Can Will Read, and also to Tightrope of a Reader. It's so weird when they're your friends so you don't really acknowledge their, handle anymore, and you don't know what their username is, but yes, those two women have really enjoyed Dominion and made me want to try it as well. It's following a preacher in a town, his son, and the woman that love those people, the wife who loves the preacher, the mother of the son, the friends, and it's all about these women in this town and how the actions of those two people impact them and everyone around them. So it sounds very like closed and tight community, but also like it's going to be delving into a lot of religious themes, and I love reading books about religion and with religious ties and themes in them. So this sounds like something I'm going to very much enjoy. Thank you to the publisher for sending me a copy of The Heir Apparent by Rebecca Armitage. Now I have had my eye on this book for a couple months, and I was looking at it and I was looking at it and I was like, no, I'm not going to request it. The option came through, I'm not going to request it. I'm going to be very selective. And then like multiple months later, someone dropped into my inbox like, would you like to cover this book? And I thought, you know what, I've been thinking about it for so long, yes please. And what this book follows is somebody who is a royal, she's a princess, and she has been living a very quiet life in Australia. Nobody knows that she's a princess, but when a tragedy happens back home, she has to return as heir to the throne and has to step into her role, which is giving, it's not the same thing, but it's giving Princess Diaries, and I grew up reading that entire 13 book series. So as soon as I saw the like comparisons, I couldn't stop it. I was very interested, and I'm now very much looking forward to reading this. Thank you for putting it into my hand. We are down to the last 3 books, and the one I have to talk about now is one I'm actually halfway through already, and that is Hello Limerence by Momo Yamaguchi. And this one is following a 25-year-old who has not much to say about life. She is a virgin, she is living in a horrible job, in a terrible work environment, and she meets a man, and maybe this is limerence, or maybe this is something that is actually reciprocated for the very first time. So it's about her like obsessive quantities with this man, but also about her life and what it's like to be a 25-year-old woman. And I'm finding it very relatable in some parts, but in other parts I'm not loving it. So it's a mixed bag, but I'm halfway. There is still space for it to turn it all around, and I'm very curious to see how this is going to come to a boil, come to a head, and come to an ending. And then the next book I have here to show you is again a thank you to the publisher, and that is The Wilderness by Angela Flerney. And this was sold to me as it being about a friendship group of black women and their 20-year friendship throughout various things like Obama's presidency, the political landscape and tides shifting, the Black Lives Matter movement coming into the forefront, and it's just about their experiences as women who go down different paths but stay in touch, and how they experience life, which sounds like something I'd be very interested in reading as a black woman, and so I'm curious to see what this book will give me. They sold it to me very, very well. And then the last book I have to show you is the last book I chose for my Christmas work situation, and that is a massive graphic novel called Lunar New Year Love Story by Jean Luen Young and Leeuwen Pham. And this is a black, oh no, it's not black and white. I thought this was a black and white graphic novel. It's a colour graphic novel about a Lunar New Year, and a romance story. And this sounds like a really cute, easy read. I'm also always keen to read graphic novels, just give them a shot, give them a chance. And when I saw it come up on like the work list of ones you could order, I was like, that, yes please, thank you. And there you have it. Those are all the new books that I have recently added to my shelves. I am excited to read them all, but I'm also equally nervous for what this means my half the haul video will be like, so that should be coming up shortly after this haul. Please let me know in the comment section down below what was the last book you received, bought, borrowed or acquired. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, hit that subscribe button if you want to see more, and don't forget to hit that notification bell to be updated every time I have a new video. And you know what they say, onwards and upwards. Excelsior! Lise or Jordan Lace. Do I want to say this in Dutch or English? Lace? Lise, I'm not sure. I think Jordan Lace sounds better.